My name's Mark. I'm 42 years old, and I build homes for a living, real ones. Framing, drywall, wiring, insulation. The kind of work that leaves your hands rough and your back sore. But at the end of the day, there's a roof over someone's head because you showed up and did your job. I've been married for 15 years. Her name is Rachel. She's beautiful in that clean, sharp way. The kind of woman who wears heels on grocery runs and never has a hair out of place. She works in corporate branding, makes a living polishing images while I walk around with sawdust in my ears. We're opposites in the way that used to feel like a compliment. She's all light and polish. I'm grit and grounding. But lately, I don't know. That balance started to feel more like imbalance. Like she was stretching forward and I was staying still. A few months ago, she started talking about this guy from work. Colin. Oh, you'd love him, she said with that sparkle in her voice. He's hilarious. Total diva. And gay. So don't worry, babe. Zero threat. She laughed when she said it. The kind of laugh you can't really argue with because it's already dismissed your concerns before they've had a chance to form. I met him once, briefly, when I picked her up after a late work event. He was tall, too tan for February, with expensive cologne and the kind of smile that's used to getting away with things. He called me Builder Daddy and winked. Rachel laughed so hard I swear she nearly dropped her purse. Then came the weekend of the party. It was one of those industry things, cocktails, overpriced appetizers, a rooftop DJ. Not really my scene, but she had it circled on the calendar weeks in advance. On the night of, she came down the stairs in a dress that didn't leave much to the imagination. Not that I'm the modest type, but something about it felt calculated. Like she was dressing for an audience, not a husband. I might crash at Colin's, she said, checking her lipstick in the mirror. I don't want to deal with getting an Uber at 2 a.m. I just stared at her. You're staying at his place? She smiled like I just asked if the sun was planning to rise. Mark, he's gay. I nodded slowly. And I'm not jealous. I'm just saying, this feels a little off. She turned around, arms folded. You don't trust me? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. And that was the end of it. She kissed me on the cheek, grabbed her clutch, and disappeared out the door like it was just another Friday night. I stood there for a while, listening to the click of her heels fade down the driveway. I didn't sleep much. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even fear. It was something colder. I lay in bed staring up at the ceiling fan, watching it spin like it was circling a drain. Doubt's a strange thing. It doesn't scream. It just hums. Quiet and steady. And once it starts, it never really stops. By morning, her side of the bed was still untouched. I went downstairs, made a pot of coffee, and tried not to check my phone every 90 seconds. That's when I saw it. A notification blinked on the screen. A message preview. Not to me. Had a blast. See you tonight. Send at 5:13 a.m. My first thought was simple. Wrong number. Had to be. A harmless mistake. Maybe she was texting a girlfriend, and the emoji was a joke. But then I saw the name. Colin. And just like that, the ceiling fan stopped spinning in my mind. Because doubt? Doubt had just grown teeth. You ever walk into a room in your own house and feel like you're interrupting something? That was becoming the new normal. Rachel came back the morning after that party, cheerful in a way that didn't sit right. Hair still neat, lipstick reapplied, not a trace of the usual fatigue that follows a real night out. She breezed through the kitchen, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "Miss me?" I wanted to ask her about the message. I almost did, but I didn't. Instead, I made a quiet choice. Don't be that guy. The paranoid husband, the insecure wreck. She said Colin was gay. Maybe the kiss emoji meant nothing. Maybe I was reading too much into it. So I buried it. Like a splinter under the skin. Small. But it stayed. After that night, things started changing. Subtle at first. Her phone became an extension of her hand, always face down when she wasn't using it, always on silent. She started going out more. Girls' night, she'd say with a quick smile. You'd be bored, Mark. All cocktails and complaints. I'd nod. Have fun. But inside, something was shifting. She wasn't cruel. Not outright. Just distant. A smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The kind of laughter you share with someone else and save only a few crumbs for home. One night, I worked late on a bathroom remodel and came home to find her already in bed, earbuds in, phone glowing under the covers like a campfire. She pulled the blanket up higher when I walked in. Said it was just a podcast. I didn't ask which one. Instead, I brushed my teeth and stared at myself in the mirror. Same man. Same calloused hands, same 5 o'clock shadow, Same guy who'd never missed a mortgage payment or forgotten an anniversary. But something in my eyes had changed. The next morning, over eggs and coffee, I asked casually, "So what did you and the girls get up to last night?" She didn't flinch. "Just drinks and trash TV at Jen's place. We all watched that dating show, the one with the guy who talks to women through a wall." I nodded like I believed her. Like I was fine. But I wasn't. Because truthfully, I checked Jen's Instagram while brushing my teeth. She was in Palm Springs with her sister. Had been for 3 days. Maybe Rachel forgot. Or maybe she was counting on me not knowing. Either way, I didn't press it. Just sipped my coffee, watching her stir her yogurt like it owed her money. A few days later, I came home early. A job site inspection had been rescheduled, and I figured I'd surprise her with lunch. She worked from home on Fridays, said it helped her reset her headspace. I pushed open the door and heard the faint sound of a video playing upstairs. Laughter, then voices, low, playful. Not mine, not hers. I moved quietly, careful not to sound like I was creeping, but not exactly announcing myself either. When I stepped into the bedroom, she was sitting cross-legged on the bed, laptop open. Whatever she was watching must have been good, because she didn't hear me at first. But then I cleared my throat. She snapped the laptop shut like it had bitten her. "Oh, Mark, I didn't hear you come in. What were you watching?" She smiled, too quickly. "Just a dumb meme. Work thing. You know how we pass around those ridiculous videos?" I nodded slowly. "Right. Memes." She stood up, came around the bed, kissed me on the cheek. "You're home early." "Surprise," I said. She didn't open the laptop again. Not while I was there. That night, I couldn't sleep. My body was tired, but my mind wasn't. I lay in the dark, listening to her breath beside me. Rhythmic. Calm. Like someone who had nothing to hide or had gotten very good at hiding it. That seed of doubt I'd buried? It had sprouted. And by now, it was climbing the walls of my mind like ivy on brick. I was halfway through measuring out lumber for a deck extension when Jamie, one of the new guys, approached me. 26, fresh out of trade school, always had a Red Bull in hand and a question on his lips. "Hey Mark," he said, scratching the back of his neck, eyes darting around like he was checking for eavesdroppers. "Yeah. Oh, weird question, man. Do you know someone named Rachel? Rachel Carson?" That caught my attention. My pencil paused mid-mark. "Yeah, that's my wife." Jamie winced, like I just confirmed his worst suspicion. "Look, man, this might be nothing. But something happened on our company Slack last night. Someone accidentally uploaded a video to the After Hours channel." I narrowed my eyes. "What kind of video?" Jamie glanced around again, lowering his voice. "Inappropriate. Like, really inappropriate. It was only up for maybe 30 seconds before it got pulled. But some of us saw it." I stayed quiet. He continued, hesitantly. "I wasn't going to say anything. I almost didn't recognize her. But then I remembered the Christmas party photo you showed us. Her hair, her voice. I think it was her. There are moments in life that feel like the air around you shifts. This was one of them." I didn't get angry. I didn't shout. I just looked at him and said, "Can you get it?" He nodded, almost apologetic. "Yeah, I saved it before it vanished. Didn't feel right, but I've got it on a flash drive. Bring it to me." Discreetly. That evening, after dinner, I told Rachel I had to sort some tools in the garage. She was on the couch, phone in hand, wrapped in a blanket she didn't offer to share. "Okay," she said without looking up. The garage was cold. Still smelled like cedar from the fence I'd patched last week. I pulled the little black USB from my coat pocket and plugged it into the laptop I kept on the workbench, my old one, the one she never used. The file was only 42 seconds long, but that was all it needed. There she was. Rachel. In Colin's apartment, or at least, I assumed it was his. I recognized the abstract painting she said looked like spilled Merlot from the night she sent me that "Don't worry, he's gay" text. Only Colin wasn't acting gay now. He stood behind her, shirtless, and very clearly interested. She was kneeling, smiling, saying things no husband should ever hear, in a tone that wasn't meant for marriage. My throat went dry. I didn't blink. She laughed softly at something he said, something I couldn't make out over the muffled background music. Then she looked right into the camera. Right into it. Like she was performing. "Yeah," she said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I'd totally do it again. He'll never know." Then she winked. The video ended. The screen went black. I didn't move. Just sat there with my hands on my knees, the glow from the laptop screen lighting the concrete floor beneath me like a stage. My ears were ringing. Not from anger. Not yet. Just silence. A silence so loud it echoed. I didn't smash anything. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe deeply. I just reached over, unplugged the flash drive, and slipped it back into my pocket. Outside, the house was still glowing with warm yellow light. Inside, my wife was probably texting him, maybe sending another wink, maybe planning the next sleepover. I stared at the door for a long time, and for the first time in 15 years, I didn't want to go back inside. I didn't confront her. Not that night, not the next day, not even the next week. I slept next to her like nothing had changed except it had. And not just in the obvious ways. Something in me had cracked, but not the kind of crack that breaks. More like the kind that lets the cold in. A few nights later, I told her the mattress was killing my back. Too soft, I said. Old joints need firm support. She gave a half laugh and said I was getting old. I smiled and nodded. Then I took a pillow, a blanket, and started sleeping on the couch. She didn't protest. And that told me something. It's strange how once your eyes are open, you start seeing everything. I watched her closely. The way she kept her phone tilted away from me when she texted. How she'd go into the bathroom with it, even in the middle of a conversation. The fake laughs. The overly cheerful voice when she said, going out with the girls again. But never with any specifics. In my head, I started rewinding the tape. All the little lies I had once forgiven or overlooked. The late-night strategy meetings, the sudden obsession with Pilates, something she never once mentioned before Colin. The way she used to light up when she saw me, how that light had been flickering for months, and I'd told myself it was just stress. She asked me one morning, "Is something wrong with you?" I looked up from my coffee and smiled. Just tired. And I was. Tired of being the only one trying. Tired of being played for a fool in my own house. Tired of loving someone who had already left the room. I started backing things up. Photos from our shared cloud account. Screenshots of calendar entries that didn't add up. Bank statements. Chat logs. Every scrap of digital evidence I could gather, I saved. Quietly. Methodically. Like I was building a case file for a crime no one wanted to admit had been committed. I changed passwords. Not hers. Not yet. Just mine. Email. Bank accounts. Credit cards. I took my name off the joint card and opened a new one in mine alone. Transferred some savings into a separate account. Set alerts on all our shared services. I even started checking our home network. I installed a logging tool, not for her phone, but for mine. If I ever needed to prove what she was doing, I'd need to show what I wasn't. In the garage, I cleared a corner. Put in a small lockbox. Flash drive. Backup phone. Hard copies. A notebook. Planning, not reacting. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want an outburst. I wanted control. Because if I learned anything from that video, it was that Rachel didn't think I had any. She thought I was asleep. She thought I was soft. She thought I'd never know. But I was awake now. And I wasn't planning to shout. I was planning to walk away without a scratch. And leave her standing in the wreckage of her own lies. You don't survive betrayal by blowing up. You survive by building a better bomb. My buddy Nate, college roommate turned family lawyer, was the only person I told. Not everything, not yet, but enough to raise his eyebrow and lean in. I'm not saying divorce, I told him. Not yet. He nodded. Good. Because first, we build your side of the story. Quietly. Thoroughly. So that's what we did. He gave me the legal breakdown, what counts as evidence, how to back it up, how not to tip her off. He even helped me set up a secure cloud folder under a dummy email address. We encrypted it, locked it behind two-factor authentication, and made sure it couldn't be traced to anything obvious. I named the folder Project Cedar. Sounded boring. Safe. Like a blueprint for a garden shed. Inside, I uploaded the flash drive video. Then came the screenshots, texts, calendar inconsistencies, odd transaction receipts. Anything that didn't sit right. I wasn't just documenting her betrayal, I was laying out a story. One the court would understand. One our families would understand. One she wouldn't be able to deny. At work, I kept up the mask. Hammered nails, measured joists, cracked jokes with the crew. If anyone asked how things were at home, I gave the same answer every husband gives when he's hiding a collapse. Busy, but good. Rachel was even better at pretending. She breezed around the house with that effortless charm that had once been mine to admire. She laughed at texts she wouldn't let me see. She played music while cooking like we were still in some early chapter. If she noticed I was sleeping on the couch more than in our bed, she didn't say a word. But at night, after the wine, after the glow of the screen faded, I listened. She'd step into the hallway around midnight, whispering just soft enough to think I couldn't hear. I could. And then, one night, I recorded it. I left my phone just inside the couch cushions, screen off, mic hot. She was leaning against the wall by the laundry room, barefoot, one leg tucked under the other like a teenager in love. "I miss you," she whispered. Colin's voice came through faintly, too faint to catch every word, but the laughter was clear. So was the way he said, "He has no idea." They giggled like kids swapping secrets at a sleepover. "Just keep it quiet," she said. "He still thinks you're, you know." He laughed louder at that. "I know. Makes it easier." Click. The call ended. The hallway light went off. Her bare feet padded back to the bedroom. I stayed on the couch, eyes wide open in the dark. The next morning, I added the audio file to the folder, labeled it clearly. Hallway call. Colin, 12:17 a.m. Then I renamed the folder entirely. For later, because I wasn't ready to end it yet. Not until I knew every corner of her story. Not until she finished writing it with her own hands. And when she did, I'd be ready to hand her the ending she never saw coming. I didn't want to fight. I wanted the weapons off the table before she ever realized we were in a war. The next phase wasn't about proof. It was about position. About leverage. About making sure that when this thing broke, I didn't walk away empty-handed while she skated off into someone else's bed with half my life in her purse. So I got to work. First move, finances. I called the bank and canceled our joint credit card. No big announcement. Just a short conversation with a customer service rep and a follow-up email confirming account separation. I made sure it looked like a routine adjustment. Then I opened a new checking account under my name only. Same bank, different branch. Transferred just enough out of our shared account to look like I was paying off some bills. The rest I left, for now. Too much movement, and she'd notice. I didn't want her suspicious. I wanted her oblivious. Next, I called the insurance company. Quietly updated my beneficiaries. Pulled my name from the car title for her SUV. Let her keep it on paper, but moved mine to a different vehicle. I even rerouted the business mail to a P.O. box. Then came the storage unit. I rented one in my brother's name, Kevin. Trusted, quiet, loyal since childhood. Told him only what he needed to know. Things at home might get complicated. I just need a place to park a few valuables. He nodded. Didn't ask for details. I packed my grandfather's watch. The signed baseball from my dad. Tools I didn't want her claiming as community property, if it came to that. Even some of my records, the vinyl kind, the ones she always said were clutter. Clutter now lived in a locked unit on the other side of town. Every move I made was legal, quiet, documented. No drama, just a steady retreat from the shared center of our lives. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and just didn't care. Either way, she never asked why the Visa card stopped working. Never commented when the mail started thinning out. Never asked why I suddenly needed alone time at the hardware store twice a week. She was too busy texting in the kitchen with her back to me. Too busy laughing in the dark. Too busy keeping secrets to realize I was learning how to keep my own. I wasn't divorcing her. Not yet. I was disarming her. Because one day, she'd try to hit me with something. And when she did, she'd find the chamber empty. It had been weeks since we'd shared anything more intimate than a grocery list, so when I asked her to dinner, she paused like I'd spoken in another language. "Dinner?" she said, halfway through typing something on her phone. "Yeah," I replied with a smile. "Just you and me. Somewhere nice." She studied me for a beat, cautious. "Why?" I shrugged. Thought maybe it was time we tried reconnecting. Her guard didn't lower, not right away, but vanity does what suspicion won't. The idea that I might still want her, even after everything she thought I didn't know, seemed too flattering to resist. She agreed. Friday night. She wore a dress I hadn't seen in a while. Elegant, dark blue, the one with the plunging neckline that once made me forget my own name. She took extra time with her hair, perfume that hadn't graced our bedroom in months. She was trying to sell something. Maybe herself, maybe the illusion. We drove in silence. I played soft jazz on the stereo. She tapped her nails on her phone screen, probably texting him. The restaurant was one of those candlelit places with cloth napkins and a pianist tucked in the corner. I'd made the reservation a week prior. She sat across from me, smiling like a woman caught in a lie she thought she could still outrun. We ordered wine. She raised her glass. "Two. What?" she asked. "Second chances," I said, eyes on hers. She smiled. A little too wide. Maybe, just maybe, she thought I didn't know. That I'd gotten tired of the couch and decided to fight for her again. I smiled back. Then I excused myself. "Restroom," I said, patting her hand as I stood. She nodded, reached for her phone the second I turned. In the men's room, I didn't check the mirror. I didn't splash water on my face. I just checked my watch. 9:12 p.m. Right on time. At 9:13, an email was delivered. 3, actually. The first to her boss at the marketing firm, the one she always said was a family man with strict ethics. The second to the human resources department. The third to her parents and her sister. Each message was short, polite, professional. Subject: you should know who she really is. Attachment: a video file named Rachel_Carson_personalconduct.mp4. I didn't have to write a speech. The video said enough. At the end of each message, I added one line. "This is the woman I married. I thought you deserved the truth too." When I came back to the table, she was still on her phone, smiling faintly. She looked up at me and said, "Everything okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just washing off the past." We clinked glasses again, and I watched her drink the wine with a smirk. She still thought she was winning, but the email was already in their inboxes. The clock had already started. The truth was no longer mine to carry. It belonged to them now, and soon it would belong to her too. I watched her across the table, just like I had so many times before. Except this time, I wasn't wondering what she was hiding. I already knew. Her phone buzzed. Just once. No chime, no vibration, just a small, sharp tremor on the tablecloth. She glanced at it, and that's when it happened. Color drained from her face so fast, it was like someone had pulled the plug on her blood supply. She stared at the screen, then at me, and back again. Her hand twitched, hovering over the phone like she wasn't sure whether to throw it or hide it. I didn't blink. She stood up suddenly. The chair screeched back, loud and clumsy. Her napkin hit the floor. A couple at the next table turned to look. "Mark," she hissed. "What the hell did you do?" I raised my eyebrows, took another bite of my steak. "Everything okay?" I asked, calmly. "You sent that video?" Her voice was cracking now, barely a whisper but sharp enough to cut glass. I wiped my mouth with the napkin, set it down slowly beside my plate. "What video?" She looked around the room like it might swallow her. Her fingers were trembling as she scrolled her phone, panic rising in real time. I could almost hear her heartbeat from across the table. I need to go," she muttered, grabbing her clutch. "Sure," I said, nodding toward the sidewalk. She paused. "What about the bill?" I stood up, buttoned my jacket. "Check it," I said. And then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't flinch. Just stepped out into the cool night air like a man walking away from a fire he started with dry hands and a clear conscience. Inside, I knew she'd find the receipt tucked into the leather folder. Paid in full. No tip left to guesswork. And not a single cent from our shared accounts. A clean swipe from my new card. That night, she came home to find the porch light off, the driveway quiet, and the house she used to own half of locked tight. The front door didn't budge. The keypad beeped red. She tried her keys. Nothing. That's when she noticed the bags. Her things, neatly folded, double-bagged, labeled with sticky notes, closet, shoes, bathroom, stacked with care, lined up on the curb like yesterday's donations, and taped right in the center of the front door, a single yellow post-it. Just 3 words. He knew. That was all. No shouting. No final argument. No dramatics. Just the truth, sitting quietly in Sharpie ink, staring back at her while the rest of the street stayed still. She stood there for a long time. I watched from the upstairs window, lights off. Then I turned, closed the curtain, and slept better than I had in months. They say betrayal is loud. But justice? Justice is quiet. It doesn't need to scream. It just waits. The fallout started less than 24 hours after I walked out of that restaurant. First came the texts from friends, family, people who once sent us Christmas cards and shared vacation rentals. Her sister texted me at midnight. "Is it true? Tell me this isn't true." My cousin called twice and then sent a message that just read, "I'm so sorry. Proud of how you handled this." People picked sides like it was a custody battle. Only there were no kids, no dogs, just 2 reputations, and one of them had receipts. Rachel tried calling. Dozens of times. I watched the screen light up from across the room, saw her name fade into unknown caller as I blocked her number. Then came the voicemails. Some tearful, some furious. Please, Mark. We can fix this. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. You vindictive bastard. And finally, just sobbing. Long, ragged silence broken by gasps like someone drowning on dry land. I didn't return a single call. I didn't have to. Colin's HR department reached out to him Monday morning. The email was professional. The investigation wasn't. He was suspended within hours, pending review of a serious breach of conduct and company policy. I knew he wouldn't survive it. Not when half the department had already seen the video. Not when he joked about keeping things quiet in a Slack thread like a fool who thought screenshots weren't a thing. Rachel's boss blocked her number by Wednesday. By Thursday, HR summoned her in. She tried to explain. Tried to make it sound like an inside joke taken out of context. But there was no inside left. Just the outside world. Looking in. She filed for mediation. I responded through my lawyer with a copy of the prenup. Page 12, Section 4. Fidelity clause. One infidelity. One consequence. She had laughed when we signed it years ago. Like we'd ever need this, she said. Turns out we did. Her access to joint assets? Frozen. The condo her parents helped us buy? Legally tied to my trust fund protections. Every step she took forward slid her 2 steps back. While her world unraveled, mine stayed standing. Because I hadn't lashed out. Hadn't gone public. Hadn't even raised my voice. I had simply waited. Documented. Prepared. Then, when it mattered most, I let the silence speak. And it spoke louder than she ever imagined. The new place isn't much. 1 bedroom, open floor plan, exposed brick that the realtor called charming and I called acceptable. But it's quiet. It's mine. And the only shoes by the door are mine and a pair of muddy sneakers my son left last weekend. Every other weekend, the kids come by. We play board games, cook pancakes, build blanket forts like they're still little. And for those 2 days, the place feels bigger than it is. They laugh a lot here. I make sure of it. Tonight, though, it's just me. I've got a steak on the skillet, something red breathing in a glass beside me, and the sound of rain tapping gently on the window. There's peace in the ordinary. After dinner, I rinse the dishes, wipe the counter, then sit down at my desk, the small one tucked into the corner, next to the bookshelf she never liked. The laptop hums to life. I open the folder. For later. Inside, everything. The video. Screenshots. Call logs. Backup files. My entire quiet war, documented in timestamps and metadata. I hover the mouse over it for a second. Just a second. Then I right-click. Delete. The confirmation box pops up, bright and final. Yes, I empty the trash. Because I don't need it anymore. That part of my life, the watching, the waiting, the calculating, is over. I don't need the insurance policy. I don't need the reminders. She knows. He knows. And more importantly, I know. I close the laptop. Sit back in the chair. There's nothing left to prove. I take a sip of wine and smile to myself, not the smug kind. The kind you make when you survive something that was supposed to destroy you and come out not just intact, but better. Viewers, this is the end of the story. We would be very grateful for your likes, comments, subscriptions, and sharing of our stories. See you next time.